It's level. It's Liverpool 1, Arsenal 1. It's a delightful ball by Trent Alexander-Arnold over the top. Now, there's a couple of things here. One, Mohamed Salah's goal is fantastic. The power has beaten David Raya, but should he even have had a chance to get the shot in? Because Zinchenko did not cover himself in glory, and even with Gabriel in the centre, could easily have come across. But Zinchenko's the one here, Craig, to talk about, because we've seen him before coming forward, playing at left-back for Arsenal as an attacking force, be an excellent addition. But defensively, you just wonder how much that injury at the start of the campaign to Jurrien Timber has cost Arsenal as far as goals like this is concerned.
We're still having a hard time trying to convince Stevie that Liverpool are not going to. They're going to miss Mo Salah when he goes to the African Cup of Nations. He's still in denial. But look, I don't know what Augie's view was of Zinchenko at the game. I thought he was poor, full stop. I thought he was absolutely poor on the ball. I think Declan Rice bailed him out in at least one occasion from that little Cruyff turn, and I've no doubt bailed him out in many more occasions with his position. But in terms of the goal itself, let's construct it. The great ball over the top. He's already 3 or 4 yards deeper than the high line Arsenal have got, so he's the one that's playing Mo Salah on side. There's his first mistake. Then when he gets back into play, the angle is terrible for Mo Salah. And I heard it described this side of the pond on TV as lax defending. It was absolutely abysmal. It was embarrassing. The way that he lazily just sort of dangled a leg out, and Mo Salah easily skipped past him. It was a great goal. I wouldn't fault David Raya at all on this occasion. But it boils down to really bad defending. But here's the thing. He is not a very good defender. It's one of the reasons that Pep Guardiola got rid of him. He's not a good defender. And I didn't think today he was very good on the ball either. So not a very good day at the office for Arsenal's left back, in my opinion.
Yeah, Tomiyasu wasn't on the bench. Kivior was, and maybe if Tomiyasu had been available, Mark, that might have been a better option, because going up against Mohamed Salah, you need a decent defender, and ultimately Zinchenko was culpable for that goal.
Yeah, I don't think Arsenal have got a left back full stop. Tomiyasu is not really a left back; he's more of a right-sided defender. So I think. Sorry, I'm just having some wires removed while I'm talking. Yeah. And then the Winter Wonderland side as well. It's absolutely throwing it down here. No, in terms of Zinchenko, Pep Guardiola doesn't make many mistakes. And City got rid of him because he wasn't quite good enough for Man City. Now, he had a decent season last year when he arrived, in the sense that he brought that kind of Man City mentality to the Emirates. And I think he's better as a holding midfielder, but I think they've moved on from that by bringing Declan Rice in. So the place where he was playing last season at times isn't available to him. So he's just not good enough. He's a good, steady professional, Zinchenko, but he's not good enough to play left back, like you say, away to Liverpool, against Mo Salah. I think he's a decent home fullback, if that makes sense, at the Emirates, but it's just not good enough. But then you can make the same point about Ben White and the other flank, that Arsenal's fullbacks are potentially going to let them down in the title race. But that is the problem that Arsenal have got. They are building towards a title-winning team, but they haven't quite got that fullback area covered yet. And I think ultimately that might cost them the title this season, because it cost them a victory today.
They've got a left back, Augie, a Scottish guy. He's on loan at Real Sociedad.
Well, yeah, totally. I think Kieran Tierney is a really good defender, and I just don't know what's happened there. I think if he's fit, he's the best defender they've got. And, Scotland have probably got 2 of the best left backs in the world, but one of them's not fit and one of them never plays, which is surprising. But I like Tierney. I think he's a really good defender.
I think the only thing I can think of is that he doesn't think Tierney's good enough on the ball, but he's certainly, as you mentioned, he's a better defender. He can play centre half as well.
He does for Scotland.
As Mark Donaldson knows, he's done it for Scotland. Left-sided centre back, because he's got Andy Robertson, as you mentioned, Steve Clark, so he's got a glut on that left-hand side. But, particularly with the injury to Timber, which is he can play across that back four, Tierney, he's so good getting forward as well. He might not be as cute on the ball as Zinchenko, but he's better in the air. He's a better defender. He's quicker. And when he gallops forward down that left-hand side, he gives him a good option. So you're right. That could come back to bite them in the backside. And I just think Zinchenko is so much of a liability defensively. And now I think he's lost a lot of confidence with the ball at his feet as well. And I wasn't surprised that they tried to isolate Mo Salah with him in this game.
And if you watch the Ukrainian national side, you'll know that Zinchenko plays as a kind of holder or a central midfielder for his country. Of course, he's played left back as well. But yeah, the quicker that Jurrien Timber is back from injury, the better for Arsenal. And Tomiyasu's out with a calf problem, as Mark was saying. He's mainly a right-sided centre-back or right-back, but he's out as well. Okay, so just before half-time, there's a chance. Saka's kind of one-on-one and gets in behind, and then the ball breaks. I just wondered if Saka had gone down, if he might have got a penalty, but he stayed on his feet. It breaks to Martinelli, and that goes wide. So it was a decent first half. It was end-to-end stuff, and you were at the Man United game, Augie, and it was light years from that because the away team came and had a go. In the second half, Liverpool started really well, but they couldn't nudge themselves ahead. What was the atmosphere like when Liverpool were in full flow?
It was a little bit like Champions League now, but not quite, if that makes sense. And I know Klopp had called for the fans to make a bit more noise, but it didn't really get going to like full potential today, but it was better than last week against Man United and against West Ham in midweek. So I just got a sense that everyone was a little bit fatigued. You know, they've had 3 home games in a week, Liverpool, 3 in 6 days, and sometimes that has an effect. And I just think both sides just missed that little bit of extra edge today, whether it was a fatigue or... I'm getting wet now, by the way. You can probably see, guys, I'm absolutely getting soaked. But yeah, it just lacked a little bit of something. And whether Liverpool just... There's something that both sides have got every potential to win the league, but they both lack a bit of something. And whether it's Liverpool's midfield that isn't quite right, Arsenal's defensive situations, Liverpool's fullback, I'm not sure, but they're both kind of finding their way right now. And I just think with Salah going to the FA Cup in Asia, I think Liverpool might struggle to get that momentum going before the end of January, and that could be a costly month. Speaking of costly, how big a chance, Craig Burley, when Zinchenko, I think, and Odegaard got in each other's way, and then it was a charge of the Light Brigade. It was like a 4-on-1 at one stage. Mohamed Salah plays it through Trent Alexander-Arnold. The replay suggests there might have been a little bit of a bobble, and he struck it well, just too well, and it hit the bar. But that's the difference, isn't it? Between those little things, between 3 points and 1 point, between potentially title winners and potentially finishing second, moments like that.
Well, they're both going to have to find goals from elsewhere in the team, aren't they, if they're going to win this league. We know City have an out-and-out goal scorer. Villa are in the hunt at the moment. Watkins has been in pretty good form, good physical player. We know Nunez's goals have dried up. He didn't start today. And Gabriel Jesus went off for Eddie Nketiah, so the goals are going to have to be shared around both these teams, you think, particularly with Mo Salah going away for 3 or 4 weeks. And again, the player that was back there, guess who it was, trying to sort of defend 4 players was Declan Rice, and he held off long enough until that ball. Look, the ball goes to. It was timed perfectly to AlexanderArnold. He's a great technician with the ball at his feet. We can talk about his defending all day, but he's a terrific passer and technician with the ball, and he should have scored. And maybe he did take a little bobble on him, but you know he should have buried it. He didn't, and that was really the big chance. But again, it wasn't something that Liverpool carved out. It came about via a comedy of errors on the edge of the box by Arsenal. And again, you know, we're talking about big players. I didn't think today, again, talking about that chance and the mistake that happened, that Arsenal quite got enough in the final third from Martin Odegaard again today. And I think that's been one of the criticisms of him. He's bossing a lot of the games against some of the weaker sides, but he's really going to have to step up in these big games. He wasn't bad, but just didn't quite get enough guile and final pass from him in the final third. But he was certainly one of the ones that was wiping his brow, Mark, when Trent Alexander-Arnold didn't finish that off like he should have.
Final question for Augie, because he's got some live wires and some rain and a press conference, so there's a whole lot that could go wrong here.
Well, we like to see Augie getting wet, and by the way, he's going to have his work cut out trying to write a positive column on Man United this weekend. I can tell you that.
It's Christmas, and I've got to have a week off.
Hey, we've spoken plenty about Manchester United earlier today, you and I, Craig. So let's leave them out of this. And one final question for Augie, and I want to take on what Craig's saying about Odegaard. When Gabriel Jesus was in form and when he didn't have the injury and Odegaard was supplying him and Jesus was scoring, it was great for Arsenal. But right now, Jesus isn't really scoring, and as a result, Odegaard's not getting as many assists. So how big is the need? How pressing is the need for Arsenal to sign a goal scorer in January?
Yeah, I think that's clear. Gabriel Jesus isn't a 20-goal-a-season striker, is he? I don't quite know what he is really. He's not the player that we saw as a youngster at Man City. He's not really kicked on. So he's a good squad player, but I think if Arsenal can find the funds to make a move for Ivan Toney, for instance, then that might be the game changer. But obviously, Tony's not played for 8 months, so is he going to be able to slot straight in and do what they need him to do? So, and maybe he's not the fit that they need, but they do need a striker. They need someone with a bit of pace up front to stretch the game a little bit, and to maybe run on to Odegaard's passes. But yeah, I mean, they made a good move for Jesus last year, and it paid off. But I think the team has moved on without him a little bit, and I think. But as you've seen, let's get it back to Man United, as Craig said. If you sign the wrong striker, it don't work for you. So you've got to make sure you're spending big money on the striker. It has to be the right guy. Otherwise, it's just money down the drain.